right now, while you're listening to these words, 3 billion people are going through their day exactly as they did yesterday. They'll make the same choices. They'll think the same thoughts. They'll move toward the same future that's already written for them because they've decided, usually without knowing they've decided, that change happens to other people. Not them. You're different. You're here. And that difference is everything. There's something happening in this exact moment that most people never experience. You've stopped the machinery of daily life long enough to consider whether your path is actually the right one. You've created space for a conversation about who you might become. That act alone, that simple decision to pause and pay attention, is already putting distance between you and the crowd that moves through life on autopilot. I want you to understand something that changes nothing but affects everything. Your life right now is the result of the decisions you made in the past. And your future isn't waiting somewhere ahead of you. It's being decided by what you choose to do today, not tomorrow, not when circumstances improve, not when you feel more motivated today. This is uncomfortable for most people because it means they can't blame the economy, their upbringing, their bad luck, or the unfairness of the world. They can only blame themselves. But here's the grace in that realization. If your past decisions created your current situation, then your future decisions can create any situation you want. Let me tell you about a man I knew who worked in the same warehouse for 12 years. Not because he was trapped there. He worked there because he never imagined himself working anywhere else. He'd show up, do his job adequately, collect his paycheck, and go home. His life was predictable and small. One day he started taking 15 minutes each morning before work to read about a field that interested him. Not for a promotion, not because anyone told him to, just because something inside him refused to stay small forever. 3 years later, he was working in that field with a salary that had nearly tripled. He wasn't smarter than he'd been before. He wasn't luckier. He simply used 15 minutes a day to imagine a different version of himself, and eventually that version became real. The tragedy of most human beings isn't that they fail at their dreams. It's that they never take them seriously enough to invest even a small portion of their time. A man wants financial security, but won't read a single book about money. A woman desires a better relationship, but won't work on understanding herself or another person. Someone wants to be healthier, but can't find 15 minutes for exercise. We say we want things while actively refusing to do the things required to get them. That's not bad luck. That's contradiction. Think about the architecture of your day. You have 1,440 minutes, just 1,440. Out of those, most people dedicate 15 to 30 minutes to something that matters to their growth or their future. The rest goes to obligation, distraction, and routine. That's not because they're lazy. Most people work hard. They just work hard on someone else's dream. They build someone else's vision while their own potential sits dormant inside them. Now, I'm not suggesting you abandon your responsibilities. I'm suggesting something more radical. I'm suggesting you become someone worth being responsible to. The difference between people who make progress and people who stay stuck isn't ability, it's direction. A sailboat with ordinary canvas but proper direction will reach its destination. A magnificent ship without direction drifts forever. Most people spend their whole lives optimizing their effort without ever asking whether they're headed anywhere that matters. They want better results while maintaining the same thinking. They want different outcomes while making identical choices. The universe doesn't work that way. Your results won't change until you change. Let's talk about something nobody wants to hear. Discipline isn't punishment. It's love. When you discipline yourself to do something difficult, you're telling yourself that you matter. You're saying that your potential is worth protecting, that your future self is worth serving. Every single time you do something you don't feel like doing but need to do, you're building a version of yourself that's stronger, more capable, more trustworthy. Most people can't trust themselves because they've spent years proving they can't keep their own promises. There's a woman I think about who decided at 42 that she wanted to learn to paint, not because she had talent or time or resources, because something inside her said it wasn't too late to become. She painted for 20 minutes a day, usually late at night when her family was asleep. She took classes online. She gave herself permission to be terrible at first. 5 years later, she was selling her work. People asked her how she did it. They meant, how did you find the time? How did you develop the skill? How did you overcome the doubt? But the real question they were asking, the one they didn't have words for, was, how did you decide to matter to yourself? Here's what I've observed in human nature. We underestimate what we can do in a year. We overestimate what we can do in a day. We live as if we have unlimited tomorrows. So today doesn't need to be remarkable. We'll start that project tomorrow. We'll make those changes next month. We'll become that person eventually. Meanwhile, we're becoming someone else entirely. We're becoming the kind of person who makes promises to themselves and breaks them. We're becoming unreliable to our own hearts. The person who reads for 15 minutes a day will consume about 30 books in a year. That means knowledge accumulated that 97% of the population will never have. That's not because they can't read. It's because reading doesn't feel urgent. Your brain doesn't send alarm signals saying, warning, your ignorance is limiting your life. But it is. It's limiting it profoundly. Meanwhile, the person who watches the same 40 hours of entertainment that everyone else watches is living in the same mental framework as everyone else. They have the same reference points, the same limiting beliefs, the same small vision. How could they create something different? I want you to think about compound interest, but not just with money. Think about it with knowledge. Think about it with health. Think about it with your character. A person who improves their health by 1% a day doesn't feel dramatically different after 1 week, but after 1 year, they're not the same person. They have more energy, more strength, more capacity. Everything that was difficult becomes easier. A person who learns one new thing about human nature each day will eventually understand people in a way that transforms their relationships, their work, their influence. But the benefit isn't immediate. It's slow. It's subtle. And for that reason, most people abandon it before they experience it. The world is set up to reward those who can delay gratification. A student who studies regularly performs better than a student who crams the night before. An athlete who trains consistently beats one who only trains when they feel motivated. A person who saves money steadily builds wealth, while a person who spends as they go stays broke. This isn't mysterious. It's just mathematics playing out in the human experience. And yet, most of us still choose the immediate satisfaction of doing nothing over the delayed satisfaction of progress. Let me ask you something. How much time do you spend each week improving yourself? Not working, not earning, not producing for others, but actually becoming better. Now ask yourself why that number is so small when you claim to want a better life. The reason is that self-improvement doesn't feel like a priority until your results become undeniable. And by then, you've already spent years not investing. You can't get those years back. They're gone. But you can start with the minutes that are left. There's a particular kind of person that moves through the world differently. They're not necessarily more talented or fortunate, but they've made a decision that most people haven't made. They've decided that their own development is worth their time. They read, they think, they question their assumptions, they listen to understand rather than to respond. They follow through on their commitments, especially to themselves. And slowly over months and years, their life becomes different. Opportunities find them that seemed impossible before. People respond to them differently. The world rearranges itself around them. The reason I'm telling you this is because I want you to understand that the version of yourself that you could become is already inside you. It's not some foreign thing you need to acquire. It's not something you need to be anointed with or granted permission to be. It's dormant potential waiting for activation. And it activates through repetition, through showing up even when you don't feel like it, through doing the thing that's hard and important, while the thing that's easy and meaningless sits there calling to you. This requires something that's become unpopular. It requires faith, not religious faith necessarily, though it could be. It requires faith in your own capacity to change. Faith that if you plant seeds today, fruit will grow tomorrow. Faith that your small, consistent efforts compound. Most people have lost this faith because they tried something for a week and saw no results. They tried a diet for 2 weeks and didn't transform their body. They read 3 books and didn't feel instantly wiser. They saved for 2 months and didn't become rich. And they concluded that their effort doesn't matter. What actually happened is they quit before the compound growth could compound. Think about someone you know who's made real progress in their life. Think about how long it took. Was it 3 weeks? A month? No. Real transformation takes years. It requires patience and consistency and a willingness to look foolish while you're learning. Most people can't handle that. We live in a time when everyone sees everyone else's highlight reel. So we compare our beginning to someone else's year 7, and we conclude that we're not cut out for this. We are. We just need time and commitment. Here's another truth that stings a little. You don't lack time, you lack priorities. Everyone has the same 24 hours. A CEO has the same hours as a person working minimum wage. An Olympic athlete has the same hours as someone sitting on the couch. The difference is what they've decided matters most. If you truly wanted something, you would find the time. This means if you're not finding the time, part of you has decided it doesn't actually matter that much. That's not judgment. That's just honesty. And honesty is the first step toward change. The person who's thinking about creating something but hasn't started is losing the advantage over the person who's already started and is making mistakes. The person making mistakes is learning. The person thinking about it is just wondering. Progress belongs to those willing to be imperfect, willing to be beginners, willing to do something badly until they can do it well. Most people's ego gets in the way of their growth. They don't want to be the person who doesn't know. They don't want to struggle. They don't want to be visible in their learning. So they stay small and invisible. I think about the conversations you're having with yourself right now. Part of you is thinking, yes, this is true. I need to change. And another part of you is thinking, but not today. I'm tired. I'll start tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes because tomorrow becomes today, and today you'll be tired again. The only moment you have any power is this one. The only decision that matters is the one you're making right now. And the decision isn't to revolutionize your life starting Monday. It's to do one small thing today that you wouldn't normally do. Just one. Just 15 minutes. You see, people want to believe in quantum leaps. They want to believe they can transform overnight. But transformation is a slow burn. It's the 15 minutes that becomes 30. It's the one book that becomes 3. It's the 1 week of consistency that becomes 1 month. And suddenly, you're not the person you used to be. You're not transformed by inspiration. You're transformed by intention, repeated. The universe doesn't care about your potential. It cares about what you actually do. A brilliant person who never acts on their brilliance is indistinguishable from an ordinary person in terms of results. And results are all that matter in the world. You can be the most talented person alive, but if you don't show up, if you don't practice, if you don't put your work out there, nobody will ever know. The world doesn't reward who you could be. It only rewards who you are, as evidenced by your actions. Let me tell you about a parallel truth. Everyone is exactly as committed as they claim to be. If you say you want to write a book, but never actually write, you don't want to write a book. You want to have written a book. You want the identity and the achievement without the process. That's not integrity. Real commitment is doing the work when nobody's watching. It's showing up when you don't feel like it. It's being the person you promised yourself you'd be when the moment that matters comes. This is why small daily practices change lives, because they're building your character. Every time you do something you said you'd do, you're building trust with yourself. You're becoming someone who can be trusted. And the person who can be trusted by themselves can be trusted with bigger things, can be trusted with more responsibility, can be trusted with more opportunity. Your reliability to yourself determines what the world believes you're capable of. Think about how you talk to yourself on a daily basis. Most people are brutal. They tell themselves they're not good enough. They remind themselves of their failures. They list their shortcomings. They've become their own enemy. But you could become your own champion instead. You could speak to yourself the way you'd speak to someone you love and believed in. You could remind yourself that you're building something, that you're becoming something, that the difficulty you're experiencing right now is just the friction of growth. The destination is less important than the direction. Someone heading toward mastery at a slow pace will eventually master something. Someone heading toward ignorance at a fast pace is still heading toward ignorance. The specific goal matters less than the fact that you have a goal and you're moving toward it. A person without direction can work hard and end up nowhere. A person with direction can work slowly and eventually arrive. I want to revisit this idea that 15 minutes is changing your life. It's not the 15 minutes in isolation. It's what the 15 minutes represents. It represents that you matter to yourself. It represents that you're investing in your own development. It represents a belief that your future can be better than your past. It represents action over intention. And when you repeat that action day after day, it compounds into a version of yourself that's remarkable. The strange paradox of life is that you become what you do, not what you think about doing. A person who thinks about running isn't a runner. A person who runs is a runner. A person who thinks about writing isn't a writer. A person who writes is a writer. So if you want to be someone different, you don't start with belief. You start with behavior. You do the thing before you fully believe you can. And through the doing, belief eventually follows. Most people are waiting for confidence before they act, but confidence is built by acting. It's built by doing something difficult and surviving it. It's built by failing and trying again. It's built by the accumulation of evidence that you can handle challenges. There's no shortcut to confidence. You can't think your way into it. You have to do your way into it. Here's what I know about people who create meaningful change in their lives. They don't wait for perfect circumstances. They don't wait to feel ready. They don't wait for a sign from the universe. They decide, and then they begin, and then they adjust as they go. The only time you'll ever feel completely ready is when you've already done it. So you have to start before you're ready. You have to be willing to be uncomfortable. Think about the last time you accomplished something that mattered to you. I bet there was a moment where you wanted to quit, where it felt too hard, where you doubted yourself, but you pushed through anyway. And on the other side of that difficulty was pride. There was growth. There was a version of yourself that was stronger because you didn't quit. That's available to you right now. But you have to choose it. The person you could become in the next year, if you invested just 15 minutes a day, is waiting. They're already real in possibility. They already exist in potential. Your job is just to bring them into existence through consistent action. You're not creating someone new. You're revealing someone who's already there. At the end of your life, you won't regret the hours you spent watching. You won't regret the time you invested in distraction. You will regret the potential you left unexpressed. You'll regret the version of yourself you could have become but didn't. You'll regret the impact you could have had. And that regret will be worse than any discomfort you face now in building yourself. So here's what I'm inviting you to do. Not tomorrow, not Monday. Today, find 15 minutes and use it for something that matters to your growth. Read something that expands your thinking. Write something that clarifies your thoughts. Move your body. Work on something you've been putting off. Spend time with someone who matters to you. Have a conversation that goes deeper than the surface. Plan something. Create something. Learn something. Become someone. And then do it again tomorrow. And the day after that, you don't need to see results immediately. You just need to keep going. You just need to trust that what you're doing is building something. That 15 minutes a day for 1 year is 365 15-minute blocks. That's roughly 91 hours. That's more time than most people dedicate to their own growth in a decade. Imagine what you could learn. Imagine who you could become. Imagine what you could create. Imagine the person you could be. You're already ahead of most people just by being willing to listen to this. But listening isn't enough. Believing isn't enough. Only doing matters. Only the 15 minutes you actually take, the book you actually read, the question you actually ask yourself, the decision you actually make. That's all that matters. And that's everything. The life you want isn't waiting for you. It's being built by you right now through the small choices you're making. So choose well, choose yourself, choose growth, choose the 15 minutes, and then choose it again tomorrow.